Happy Tuesday, beautiful people. So in this video, I'm going to go over some of the things when you're just getting started with your SEO campaign or just not familiar with SEO, some of the things you should be looking at in regards to your technical SEO. So in this video, I'm going to go over broken links, redirects, how I use Screaming Frog to find these errors in website speed optimization and mobile usability, or in other words, how mobile friendly your website is. I'm not going to go over JSON schema. Schema is rich data that you add to your website. And, probably the most common example of schema, if you ever do a hotel search or restaurant search, you see the star rating in the search results. That's schema in action. I actually have another video where I talk about how to set up schema for your website. So I'll make sure to include a link to that video here in the YouTube description. Now, technical SEO. So why is this important? Well, user experience and user friendliness is a big factor when ranking your website. If your website is slow or it's hard to use on different devices, then it takes away from the user experience, and users are going to respond by immediately leaving your website, so increasing your bounce rate, not staying very long on your website even if they do go to a few pages, so that brings down your average time on site and dwell time. And these are user experience signals that Google is tracking, and over time, if there's a trend in the wrong direction, these can lead to decrease in rankings and overall less visibility for your company's website. Now, broken links. So we've all had the experience where we've been on a website, we've seen an article that we're really interested in reading, and we click the link and boom, it's a 404 error. So that's not always, that's definitely not a good user experience, or you're not providing a good user experience. So in these cases, if you do have broken links on your website, you want to make sure that either you redirect that link to a piece of content that is relevant to what the original article was about, or if there is no content there, this isn't the best, but just redirect to your homepage. But the first option is definitely preferred, because you are giving a user what they want when they click that link. And redirects are what we use to fix broken links. So let's say if you have a link that's broken about, let's say you're a plumber in Houston and you have a article about emergency plumbing that you wrote back in 2008. Well, I'm sure in the last 10 to 11 years, there have been some updates. So you want to make sure that you update that content either directly or create a new article and redirect that old article to the new article. So the tool I use to find broken links and other technical issues is called Screaming Frog. Now, Screaming Frog, there is a free version, and this is best for smaller websites. So if you're just launching your website, you don't have many pages, or you don't, or you have an older website, you still don't have that many pages, Screaming Frog is a great tool to use, and it will give you pretty much all the information you need about your technical SEO. And in yesterday's video, I actually went over on-page SEO as well, and you can also find those on-page SEO issues here too. Now, let's say you have a very large website, Screaming Frog does offer a premium version of their software. I believe it's in euros, but I believe the cost comes out to about $150 US, and that's for a year license. But if you are really focused on improving your SEO and monitoring it over time, then I definitely think it's well worth the investment. Now, you can see here, this is the user interface. I put in a test website that I use, waterdamagerestorationgroup.com, and it's pretty easy. So I'll start it from the beginning so you can see how it works. So basically what it does is crawl every page on your website. Now I know in some cases, especially if you're in a larger company, your IT team might block crawlers such as this from crawling your website. In that case, you won't be able to use Screaming Frog or really any other on-page crawling tool like SEMrush or Ahrefs, among the many others out there. So in that case, if you're really interested in seeing what's going on with your on-page and you see that you put your website in here and it's not coming back with anything, you might want to see why your website isn't crawlable. So, either talk to your developer or your IT team to see what's going on there. Now, this is a very small website. Just use it for test. And you can see here on the right-hand side, there are different sections here. So for the purpose of this video, I'm going to focus on response codes. So your response codes, basically you want to see when you're looking for broken links, you're looking at 400 errors and 500 errors. So you can see here that there's nothing here that that's broken. And 400 errors or client errors, server errors, or 500 errors. Sometimes there will be false positives, so it does help if you have the time or the resources to go in and check manually. But you want to make sure you clean these up. And you clean these up with what's called a 301 redirect. So 301 redirect basically is telling telling the server that once someone lands on that page, redirect them automatically to another page. And that's pretty much how it works. Now, there have been tests. There are also something called a 302 redirect, which is a temporary redirect. There have been tests that shown that using 302 redirects can have some SEO benefit. But I would say that's more of an advanced tactic. If you're just trying to redirect your broken links and you're not really looking to get involved in the technical details of the SEO benefits of redirects, then just stick with 301s. Those are the tried and true method, and they'll accomplish the goal of redirecting the user to the appropriate page. Now, as you can see here, I am using a 302 to redirect. That's for Google+, but that's again, this is a test site, not something I'm managing regularly. But Screaming Frog, very good tool. And as I mentioned before, you can look at other issues on the site. And perhaps I'll make another video kind of going through every tab here, just so you're well aware of the capabilities of the software. Now, going back to my list here, so we've already talked about broken links and redirects. So if you're using a WordPress website, WordPress is great for plugins. There are several plugins out there where it makes the redirect process very easy. I guess the old school way of doing it would just be to go directly to your .htaccess file and set up the redirects manually. But if that's something you're not comfortable with, or if you don't have access to a developer who's experienced with that, one plugin I use, and there are many plugins out there, but one plugin I use is Simple 301 Redirects. And basically, it's really easy to use. So you have two columns here. Once you install the plugin, and then in the first column, the request column, you put in the old URL, and then in the destination column, you put in a new URL. So yeah, it's very simple to use. So I highly recommend it if you are beginning with SEO, just because of its simplicity. Now there is an option to use wildcards. So basically what this would do, let's say that we had a URL. If we want to redirect the entire website, any page on that website, to another website. So the typical scenario for this is, let's say you've been using an old domain, but maybe you've gone through a rebranding, or you've brought on new business partners and you've completely changed the business name and completely changed the website URL. So what's up here. So in that case, it might be a good opportunity to redirect your entire old website or old domain to the new domain. Other I guess more advanced reasons why you would use a wildcard. Let's say for link building purposes, you went out and purchased an expired domain that's relevant to your industry or relevant to your niche. In that case, you don't want the only reason why you're buying that domain is to reap the benefit of all of the domains that are pointing to it. So basically how this works, I'll draw a quick diagram here. And this is the merger technique. Gotch SEO, I'll leave a link to his article on this in my video description. He really goes into detail about this strategy, but it's a great way to quickly build backlinks to your website. So let's say you have your website here. Let's use some colors. I don't know what's going on. So let's just say that's your website. And then you buy this expired domain. There we go. There goes the colors. And then this expired domain has, so many links pointing to it. Okay. And while I'm drawing this, I've never said I was an artist, so bear with me. So once you buy that expired domain, you're going to redirect it to your website. And so by doing so, all of these links that were pointing to this expired domain, once you set up that site-wide redirect, those will now go directly to your website. So again, that's a more advanced link building strategy, but it does work. Definitely not the creator of it. I believe Nathan Gotch, he has the best article and content out there on this strategy. So again, I'll make sure to link to it in my video description. Now going back to my list here. So we talked about broken links. We've spoken about redirects and plugins to use for that, and also some advanced techniques for redirecting for link building. Now let's talk a little bit about website speed optimization. So I use two tools, GTmetrix and Pingdom, and I'll leave the link to these in the description so you'll have them. Let's run this one again. Oh, it's already running. So when I finish running, let's go over GTmetrix. So basically these two tools, they analyze different variables on your website, and they come back and give you an average load time for your website. So you can see here for my test website, this is pretty slow. It's a 4.9 seconds, and you can see it has a grade an F, and I didn't know there could be a worse score than F, but E, I guess, is better than F. But anyway, still much area for improvement here. And you can see here, it kind of gives you a breakdown. Let me zoom in here so you can see a little bit better. It gives you a breakdown on these different things that are slowing down your website. So of course, what you're going for is your A's and B's, but then there could be a ton of things you can improve to fix the website speed. But what I like about GTmetrix, it gives you a priority. So you can see all of these things that are less than B are all high priority items, right? So if you do have a bit of SEO knowledge or technical knowledge about website development, you can go in here and fix some of these yourself. But some of the common reasons, browser caching. So there are plenty of plugins out there that will take care of this part. serving scaled images. So that's actually something else that's pretty easy to fix. So let's say you have an image, it's 500 by 500 pixels, and you upload it to your website, but you don't specify in the code, how big, how that image should be rendered. So in your HTML, in that image tag, there should be an attribute that specifies the width and the height of the image. But if you leave that blank, then basically you're making the server go out and require more resources to figure out how to render that image. So let's say, okay, maybe one image won't have a terrible impact, but let's say you have 100 images on your site. All of those server requests are going to slow down the load time. So that's something that can multiply very quickly if you're not managing it, but it's something that's fairly easy to fix. Something else about GT metrics is the waterfall. So it looks like I have to log in. Luckily, I do have a okay, so logged in, great. Here we go. So basically this waterfall tells you, okay, the minute someone hits your website, what's going on, so what's loading. And the way I look at this, if I see something that's taking a ton of time to load, so I see this is a long bar, and basically the longer it takes to load, the longer this bar is going to be. If I see that's a particular resource is taking a long time to load, then I take a look at it and see if it's something that's really mission critical for the user to get the full website experience. If not, then I consider removing it or deferring it so that more important items load more quickly. But again, if you're not familiar with web dev, these are best served for someone who a developer who has that background. So that's the first tool I use. And I'll come back to that in a bit. So Pingdom, another tool. Again, it gives you different ways to improve the website speed. So you can see here we actually have a few that are new that weren't included in GT metrics. And the reason why I like to use two tools is really just to get two opinions on the site speed. I know Google has page speed insights, and it does provide some knowledge, but I recommend these tools because they kind of dig a little bit deeper into how to improve your website speed. So the goal speed I have for my websites is 2 to 3 seconds load time. I think that's a good benchmark to start. You can see this is 4.9. And this other one here is 3.91. So definitely some area for improvement. Now, once you get it under 3 seconds, I think the next step would be, if you have competitors that are outranking you for your keywords, your target keywords, then check out their websites. I would run their websites through this tool, and I would see what are their load times. And if you find that one of your competitors who's outranking you consistently, if they have a faster website, then that should be your new benchmark. Because again, website speed, it's big for user experience, and Google likes user-friendly websites. So definitely something that you should make high priority when starting your SEO campaign. Now, going back here, mobile usability, and I think this one is pretty straightforward. I just use Google Mobile Friendly Tests for this. So you just Google that. So it looks like I already had some website in here. So I guess it's going to go ahead and analyze that. Sometimes this can be a little bit slow. So great. So this website is mobile friendly. But you'll see here there are some loading issues, and sometimes these things aren't necessarily issues you have to fix. They're more like warnings to be aware of. Okay, so but overall, this website is mobile friendly. So if you see that, I would say don't just run this on your homepage. Look at your main pages on your website. So pages that are getting the most traffic from Google Analytics or Google Search Console, or pages that you really want to rank well. And I will also run a test here. So after that, that's kind of the starting step. After that, I would just take a manual look on your mobile device. If you have a team, it's great if they have different mobile phones with different sizes, so you can kind of see how your website looks on different sites. And then there, you can actually kind of look at certain details. So something that might not come up in these tests, but you see is that maybe the text is really small, or maybe some of the elements don't have enough spacing. So anything like that, it's kind of, I would say the second step. First, you want to make sure it passes Google's test. And then from there, kind of look at how everything looks on the screen. Now, another tool that I really like, it's ready.mobi, and I'll leave a link to it here in the YouTube description. But again, this is another website you can use once you kind of make your initial mobile usability improvements. And what I like, let's say if you don't have access to different devices, it'll still show you or give you a preview of how everything will look on different devices. So this isn't as good as the real thing, but it's definitely better than nothing. So those are my recommendations, and then it kind of gives you some more analytics to take a look at. So very good tool. And if you're just using it for your website, it's free. So that pretty much wraps up my video on technical SEO. But if you have any questions, feel free to leave them here on the page. And if you haven't yet subscribed, please subscribe. More subscriptions mean more visibility and more good SEO tips for business owners such as yourself. So thanks again for watching, and have a great rest of your Tuesday.